Thank you so much for the introduction and having me. I don't know if anybody's in the North Carolina area, but I am from Chapel Hill, so I'm very excited to be here today. I grew up there and I went to school in North Carolina for my undergraduate and master's degree. But today I'm going to be talking about accelerating product development and testing with regulatory science tools. So I am from the Center for Devices and Radiological Health. The FDA is organized into product centers. There's 9 product centers. So I'm specifically in the one focused on devices and radiological health. And specifically within the Center for Devices and Radiological Health, I am with the Office of Science and Engineering Laboratories. So today I get to share with you a little bit of the work that we're ongoing and some resources that are available to you as well. But I would like to mention a little bit of a disclaimer, just if I mention any products, that's not an implied endorsement from the Department of the Health and Human Services. And of course, I'm going to talk a little bit about regulatory resources, but this doesn't outline any regulatory requirements. So I have a video to share with you. Hopefully the audio does come through today. But if not, let's try this again. Can you hear this all right?
The volume's a little low. I'm going
Okay.
to increase it a little bit.
But CDRH, Center for Devices for Radiological Health at the FDA, has a number of unique research programs, each with expert scientists dedicated to advancing the development of emerging cutting-edge technologies that can save lives and lead to better treatments, better diagnostics, and better health and wellness for people. I'm Jeff Shurey, Director of CDRH. Our staff is committed to accelerating access to innovators.
Yeah, Jenna, the audio is just a little low, so I don't know if down in if you want to pause that real quick, in the right-hand corner, or if you want to put the link in, I can share it too. In the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, of your desktop screen, there should be like a volume mixer. So it might be a your web browser audio that needs to increase.
Is this better?
Confidence in the devices.
Unfortunately, it's still a little low.
Okay, I'm going to just pop the link in the chat to this. This is an introductory video to our center, but I can talk through it and just focus on the audio on my end. So let me get out of here and back to our, but we in CDRH are responsible for regulating all medical devices and radiation emitting products as well. And specifically within the Center for Devices and Radiological Health, we have our reviewers in our Office of Product Evaluation and Quality, or OPEC, but we are the research arm of CDRH in the Office of Science and Engineering Labs, or OSEL. And our mission is to accelerate patient access to safe, innovative, and effective medical devices through best-in-the-world regulatory science. This is a concept that I'm going to share a little bit more about what that means and how we go about it in our office. But ultimately, this is to help transform the lives of patients by generating renowned and transparent regulatory science that streamlines the medical device review process. So within our Office of Science and Engineering Labs, we have researchers ranging with expertise in physics and artificial intelligence, machine learning, all the way to biology, biocompatibility, and toxicology. We're made up about of 190 different researchers, but we also have visiting scientists and fellows that are also residents in our labs that work towards our mission. About a few years ago, we reorganized into program areas that are very technology specific, that make sure that we are future-proofing the FDA for medical devices that come our way. So we have about 20 different program areas. These range from medical extended reality, and biocompatibility and toxicology, artificial intelligence, machine learning, but also other areas like therapeutic ultrasound that are ongoing as well. We are responsible for about 140 different research projects at any one time. And we communicate our findings through, of course, peer-reviewed publications, articles, presentations, any other public disclosures as well. Our office also works very closely with our regulatory review colleagues in Office of Product Evaluation and Quality, and we participate in technical consulting for any kind of technical requirements on areas across the entire center. So I know there's about 250, 100,000 different types of devices out there that our center is responsible for regulating, and so we participate in about 3,000 consults per year. Our staff is also involved in standard and conformity assessment committees, so we are very at the cutting edge of some of the science that's going on out there in terms of review and what's coming down the pipeline. And so this is just a little bit more information about who we are in the Office of Science and Engineering Labs. So this is a message, and that video that I had just shown was a little bit of a message about who we are in CDRH, but this comes from our center director, Dr. Jeffrey Shurin, and our office director, Dr. Ed Margerison. And what we're finding is that the technological advances in the medical device space are accelerating incredibly fast. And unfortunately, the science that is needed to evaluate the safety and effectiveness of those medical products is not accelerating as quickly as the technological advances. So we hope to make sure that we are being a forward-looking center so that we know what's coming down the pipeline to make sure that medical device innovators are prepared for the review process as well. So this is an article of a blog post that you can read a little bit more about. I can put the link in the chat as well, so that you can read a little bit more about the message behind our office. But this brings me to the topic of regulatory science, and then also the tools to assess the safety and effectiveness. So regulatory science is really taking what all of us in OSEL are trained to do is the scientific method and apply it to the regulatory review process. So how can we take science and use it to assess the benefits and the risks of your medical devices in terms of safety, effectiveness, and also performance? So we develop these tools, standards, any kind of approaches that will help you and as innovators assess your medical technologies. So this comes from a lot of different sources about how we go about this. So we take information from all of our stakeholders, of course. So and this is throughout the entire medical device development framework. So from the innovators to the regulatory reviewers to any post-market monitoring, we try to gather information from all of these interested parties and really find out where our regulatory science gaps are. Where are the challenges that innovators are facing and are causing them to commit a lot of resources to just demonstrate the safety, effectiveness, and the performance of their products. So we take that and we use our scientific expertise to develop tools that are necessary to help you address those. We communicate our findings, of course, just as scientists in terms of research articles, scientific presentations at conferences, or forums that are of interest groups and standard communications as well, and also as safety communications that may come directly from the FDA. But all of this is to support device development. And we have a couple of different types of tools that are available for innovators to use in order to show that their products and their medical devices are safe, effective, and of high quality and actually perform the way that we hope them to. So we have, of course, consensus standards. These are standards that are developed in a international or national level consensus across technological experts. We have guidance documents that are published by the FDA that are recommendations for medical device developers for their review process. We also have medical device development tools. This is another program that's available to develop tools with a really specific context of use that goes through a similar a type of review process with our reviewers for a specific context of use. And then also we have regulatory science tools. And so this is a topic that I'm going to dive in a little bit more. But I'd like to highlight the regulatory acceptance of these different tools as it goes on. So of course we have our peer-reviewed publications. These are publications that our scientists put out there that are peer-reviewed by their other technical experts in that particular field, but those are very much geared towards a very highly technical audience. Then we have regulatory science tools, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about this in the next couple of slides. But we have MDDTs, which are a regulatory acceptance tool that is designed for a specific context of use. And then finally, we have these standards. Since they are gone through a lot of different evaluation and discussion among technical experts on an international or even national level, they do take a lot of time to get to a place where they're standard. And then also there's only a few that are FDA recognized, which can be found on our website. But we wanted to highlight this regulatory science tool. So this is a new concept that our office is working towards. These are innovative science-based approaches that are, or methodology that help assess the safety, effectiveness of a medical device or emerging technologies. These can be in the form of a lot of different mechanisms like phantoms, methods, software, models, or even data that can be used by innovators. And they are meant to be broadly available for medical devices. They are not just specific for an individual device or a specific context of use. They're meant to be broadly applicable that can be used throughout the entire product lifecycle. And these are completely voluntary to use. These are not a requirement from the FDA perspective, but they can be used early stages, late stages in your development cycle of your medical device. But the ultimate purpose of these tools is to ease the burden on medical device developers to have to use their limited resources to develop these maybe ad hoc test methods to demonstrate the safety, effectiveness, or performance of their medical devices, and focus their limited resources on the actual product development. These of course, do not replace FDA recognized standards. These are meant to be used early stages. Perhaps some of these tools would get incorporated into standards, but that can take quite a few years. So we want to get these out to the public as quickly as possible so that we can reduce risk in all stages of product development, especially for early inventors and innovators. So just a couple of examples. So taking a look at the medical device development framework, we have discover ideation, invention and prototyping, preclinical testing, clinical testing. Finally, we get to the regulatory decision, product launch, and then post-market monitoring once it's out in the market in the patient's hands. And so these are just a couple of examples where regulatory science tools may help in that particular medical device development framework that may not necessarily be even like these might be well before the regulatory process and the regulatory decision. This can help in the design or redesign phase to help you assess the devices before it gets to the regulatory decision process. We have a catalog of these regulatory science tools that's publicly available on our website. Right now, we have about more than 120 different types of regulatory science tools that are available across all different medical specialties and also different types as well. So we have some that are in, you can search on our catalog on our website by type, if it's a data set, model, or phantom. It also, you can search the area that it may be of interest to. You can see on the screen here, there's a couple of cardiovascular, biocompatibility and toxicology, orthopedics, and then also artificial intelligence and machine learning. We are going through a process where to update our catalog to version 2. So we hope to have each of these tools will have an instruction for use, which is a high-level overview of what the tool does and how to use it from a perspective of a person that doesn't have to be an expert in these highly technical fields such as fluid dynamics, mechanical engineering. This is meant to be a tool that can be used by anybody who is looking to develop their medical device and use it for their assessment, for their product development. We are developing tools every day. We're releasing more and always looking for quality improvement. But I just wanted to highlight a couple of our program areas that we're focusing on right now. These are changing as we get more information from stakeholders and other people outside to make sure that we are future-proofing the FDA for what's coming down the pipeline for as far as medical device review. So you can see we have a couple of these are about our 20 programs right now. They're a range of expertise depending on what types of devices are here. I'd like to highlight for this crowd, we have an artificial intelligence and machine learning and also a cardiovascular program that might be relevant to you. I can put the links to those particular program websites so you can see some of the work that's ongoing in our programs right now. But I would like to transition to give a little bit of a highlight on about 3 different tools that are in our catalog and how they can be used for medical device development and how they can be used, especially in the product development phase. So the first one I'd like to go over is a software that we have developed we're broken down into 4 technical divisions. This is from our Division of Imaging, Diagnostics, and Software Reliability. Our subject matter expert is our own Dr. Brandon Gallis. He developed a software for the statistical analysis of multi-reader, multi-case studies. So I just wanted to give a little bit of a background about what reader studies are in case you're not familiar with it. So this is a method to compare the performance of a new imaging system to a reference imaging system. So if you have a difference in modality, for example, this can be full field digital mammography versus screen film mammography, whole slide images versus microscope, imaging with a computer aid versus an image without a computer aid, and then CT with a new reconstruction method, for example, or old versus the old reconstruction method. And this is also can be based on task, whether it's going to be detect, classify, grade, or measure a particular morphology based on an image. And then also have a difference in readers, whether it's a clinician, radiologist, pathologist, and then also based on cases, which is your patient-to-patient variability. So this is meant to account for any reader and case variability and account for any reader or case correlations that may be inherent to the 2 different systems, and then also provide analysis of estimating any variances, confidence intervals, and then also perform a hypothesis test to really show that this potentially new imaging system is in fact performing better than the old one. And this is allowing us to generalize to a population of readers, and, for example, a wide number of clinicians or radiologists that may be reading the particular images, and also cases, how much it varies from patient to patient. So this is a tool that's available on our catalog. This is a kind of screenshot of what it looks like on our catalog here. You can see the technical description and the intended purpose. And then we also have, this is later on in the web page of this particular software, some related pro codes that this has been used for previously or maybe relevant for and when you're in the product development phase. But it is really meant to be a user-friendly interface. This is a screenshot of the software. This is meant to, again, compare the performance of a new imaging system to a reference imaging system. And I'd like to highlight this can also include artificial intelligence algorithms in your new imaging system. So if any of you are looking into an artificial intelligence imaging acquisition method, this can be a tool for you to use in your product development. The next tool I'd like to highlight, I'm changing gears pretty quickly because I know this is a broad, we have a lot of things going on within the office, but I'd like to highlight the in vitro blood flow loop system for evaluating the thrombogenicity of medical devices and biomaterials. This is another tool that's developed in our Division of Applied Mechanics, and these are our subject matter experts within this who did all of this hard work and put this work out into the public domain. But this is to highlight thrombosis associated with medical devices. So this is a particular event. If you are not familiar with thrombosis, thrombosis is the production of clots that may be induced by or the presence of medical devices. So any blood contacting devices are susceptible to thrombosis or any thromboembolic events. But this can be for both short-term and long-term devices. And there, of course, can be very disastrous clinical consequences if this is something that happens with a particular medical device. There's a couple of things that do affect the thrombogenicity of medical devices. So the first one is the blood flow around the device. So what's the geometry of the device? Where is it implanted? It's also dependent on the surface or the material itself, where the device is coming in contact with the blood, and any surface morphology associated with that, how long it's in contact with the blood, and then it also is dependent on the patient's, it's also patient specific. So if they're on any coagulants or anything like that, that would have to also be taken into consideration. So there was a guidance document that was published in 2020 by CDRH, and it was talking about when medical device developers should evaluate the thrombogenicity. So it is recommended for all devices that have direct contact with circulating blood to go through evaluation for thrombogenic events. So for new devices, that means hemocompatibility screening, especially in early stages of product development, any thrombogenicity evaluation of the device in its final finished form prior to clinical use as well. Existing devices that have gone through the review process, if there's any design changes in device geometry or blood contacting materials, that could potentially affect thrombogenicity and would have to be evaluated. And then also any other modifications that affect blood contacting surfaces or blood path dimensions. This can be like new molds that are used, device assembly tools, or processing aids. All of these recommendations can be found in this biocompatibility guidance document for your reference at a later date if that is relevant for your particular medical product. But this group I'd like to highlight is developed a tabletop method for evaluating thrombogenetic events for a particular test material. So they have, and this is, you can see by the diagram on the right-hand side, it's a very relatively simple setup where you have your test material in a tubing that then is attached to a pump, and it creates a flow loop. This is done with a blood that can be commercially available, and it's basically aimed to reduce or replace the use of acute animal studies, which is traditionally the 4-hour venous implantation model. But it's meant to test different materials in this flow loop, and you can add any blood anticoagulation agents that may be relevant for your particular medical device. And then thrombogenicity markers can be measured throughout a system of once your blood has been circulated for an hour at room temperature under these conditions. And so they have thrombus surface coverage, thrombus weight, and then also platelet count reduction can be measured for a particular material. This isn't a catheter geometry for this particular tabletop setting, so this can be used early stages to evaluate any test materials that may be of interest for your medical device. So this is a way that you can effectively compare the thrombogenicity of biomaterials in a catheter-like geometry. All of this was published in a paper in 2020 that can be reviewed. It's also on our catalog as well for your reference, if that is of interest to your particular medical device as well. Finally, the last one I'm going to talk about is the virtual family. This is another tool that was developed by our Division of Biomedical Physics, and our subject matter expert here is Dr. Hongbei Jiang. This is a set of virtual anatomical models that are can be used for thermal, electromagnetic, and fluid dynamic simulations. There's a wide variation of ages and demographics that can be used for your particular medical device, and it is incredibly useful for any of these applications of simulations. So far, this was a collaboration with the ITIS Foundation in Zurich, but so far this model has been downloaded over 8,500 times. It has been used over 200 pre-market submissions as well, but it also was used in the submission for the world's first 7 Tesla MRI that didn't require a clinical trial. So this is incredibly useful. Again, it can be found on our catalog if you're interested in more. So this is just a couple of highlights on some of the tools that we have available in the catalog. Again, there's over 120 and we're putting out new ones every day. So please feel free to check out our catalog that if there's a tool that may be relevant for your particular medical device. But at this point, I'd like to highlight a couple of other resources that are available for early stage that are available, especially for the medical device. No. Can you all still hear me? Hopefully.
Yes, Jenna.
Okay,
Yep.
great. I got a warning that Zoom quit unexpectedly, so hopefully I'm glad I'm still here. Okay, so we have a couple of other resources for early stage innovators that are available from the Center for Devices and Radiological Health. The first one I'd like to highlight is our Division of Industry and Consumer Education. This is a place where this is a division that is meant to be used by people to understand what all of everything that's going on from the FDA. So their whole mission is to educate stakeholders with understandable and accessible science-based regulatory information about medical devices and radiation emitting products. They have a lot of resources available. They have both resources that are available in the written form, but they also have interactive videos and other mechanisms that have a lot of information. I have the link to the website, which I can post in the chat. They also have a video. I was going to show it. I'm going to skip that since the audio is not my friend today. But I'll post a link to that video, which walks you around their website. It's meant to be a user-friendly interface for all of your information for medical device specific information. I'm going to pause this and I'll put that link in the chat shortly. Let me get out of here. Okay, I'd also like to highlight one other mechanism that's available for you as early stage innovators is the CDRH's Q submission program. So there's a guidance document that is available here that can outline a couple of different feedback mechanisms that's available for you to meet with the FDA or receive feedback in writing for any kinds of specific questions that you may have about your medical device. So there's six different feedback mechanisms that are available: pre-submissions, informational meetings, study risk determinations, formal early collaboration meetings, submission issue meetings, and then also day 100 meetings for PMA, which PMA stands for pre-market authorization applicants. So I'd just like to highlight the pre-submission process. This is a way for you to actually have a meeting with FDA CDRH regulatory reviewers that can answer any specific questions that you may have. And it doesn't have a user fee. So this is free for you as innovators to take advantage of as a way to get direct feedback from the FDA. So I do want to highlight that you have the Division of Industry and Consumer Education for any kind of general questions that you may have about CDRH. They have a lot of great resources there, but you also have the Q submission if you are looking for specific feedback about your particular medical device. So I just want to highlight an overview, a little bit of summary about our regulatory science tools. We have over 120 different tools within our catalog right now, and we're publishing more every day. They're ranging in a lot of different medical areas, and we're looking at submission trends, technology forecasting, and any major challenges that are affecting the device ecosystem right now so that we can really understand where these regulatory science tools will make the most impact. We are always trying to get our message about our office and we're looking for collaborations on any research projects and any funding mechanisms that are available and needed to deploy these pre-competitive regulatory science tools. We're engaging with all of our programs and stakeholder engagement to make sure that we are understanding the challenges of innovators, what they're facing right now, so that we can harness our objectives and make sure that we're future-proofing the FDA for all medical device submissions. So that's all I have for today. Here's a little bit more contact information. I'll put some links in the chat for your information or for your reference as well, especially some of those our catalog, and also the DICE website if you have any specific questions about the regulatory review process within CDRH. And all of that information can be found on our website by Googling us as well. But please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. I'm happy to put you in contact with our subject matter experts of the tools that I described today, or any other one of our scientists, or refer you to the right information as well. But thank you all so much for having me here today. I'm so excited to be here, and I'll take questions.